Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, you know, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, you know, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. You know, and so, you know, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brian here with Rob and Ashley. We got... big old Chicago weekend to talk about and all sorts of short track stuff. So, folks, how we doing this week?
Pretty good, Brian. I watched so much goddamn racing this weekend that I don't even remember what I watched. So the septic tank is going to be interesting. We're going to see what actually stuck around in my brain. But Truelove is the one with the real story here, fresh off a nice trip to the Windy City. How you doing?
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always tired, but I'm extra tired. I think we averaged walking about 7 miles a day while we were there.
And what footwear did we have on this
I wore
week?
tennis shoes.
Woo! Okay,
Nice.
good. Look at you.
For you, Brian.
Okay, now phrasing it that way makes it sound weird, and it's not that way. I am just concerned for you as a friend.
What kind of shoes did you have on, Truelove?
I'm concerned for your comfort walking around in goddamn cowboy boots everywhere.
Well, I was
and how
definitely
insane
glad that
is.
I wore tennis shoes. That's for damn sure.
Bad Brian on the show.
I do not have a foot fetish. Do not put that on me. Jesus Christ.
Special guest Paul Tracy on the show today.
Yes, that's much different tastes there here, but so yeah, I mean, hell, you were there, Ashley. Well, so start off wherever you want to start off with your big weekend.
I mean, you did a lot more than Chicago, that's for sure.
Yeah, so it was me and my brother Cody and my boyfriend Andy, and we made a road trip out of it. So we drove from Georgia to Chicago. So we left bright and early Thursday, and Thursday was going to be kind of our day to make some stops along the way. Mm. So we made a little stop in Nashville because my brother's never been. I wanted to take them to Roberts for lunch, but the streets were blocked off for the 4th of July celebration they were getting ready for, and it was so fucked down there.
Yeah, I believe that.
So didn't go there. We went to Martin's Barbecue, which...
There you go.
It's always good. Also made a little detour to Woodlawn Memorial Park because I also wanted to show my brother George Jones's grave, and Johnny Paycheck's right there. And we tracked down Marty Robbins' grave, which
really
I hadn't been to before. He was just up on a hill, a very unassuming marker. Kind of had to really hunt for it. But yeah, that was neat. There was a can of kidney beans sitting on his tombstone. So if anyone can explain that to me, please do. There's also a huge mausoleum there that we went into that I've never been in before. Little Jimmy Dickens was in there, Tammy Wynette, Lynn Anderson, and Jerry Reed. So that was cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Definitely cool to look at corpses.
Yeah. And luckily it didn't.
Hell yeah, Brian. Every
spot in there had like really nice fan tributes and little trinkets and stuff. So.
That's cool. Nothing on the internet about kidney beans and Marty Robbins.
I know. I googled Marty Robbins beans. So we may never know. Yeah. After Nashville, we passed through Louisville, however you say it, however the locals want to say it. And just drove by Churchill Downs because, it's a legendary spot. And
cool.
I'm never going to go to the Kentucky Derby.
Absolutely
not. That doesn't interest me, but I do watch it every year. So, past Dean Thompson's hauler in Indiana randomly.
Cool.
And then we
Did he try and run you off the road?
Didn't. And then we made a stop in Indianapolis because I don't know why I said it like that.
I love all these new characters showing up today. This is good.
Indianapolis. Because, of course, I wanted to drive by the track because I've never been there. So,
Yeah. Did you go to the museum, or did you have time?
it was closed by the time we got there. It was just about sunset. We pulled in a parking lot next door. It was like attached to a golf course. And we were like, oh, well, this is a good view. There was like a break in the grandstands, and we could kind of see the pagoda, and it was sunset. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Okay, we saw it. So we were just going to drive around the rest of the track. And we get right past the main entrance, which is right on a busy road on a roundabout. It's a weird layout. But the second we got past the main entrance, I saw a sign that said, "This way to Crawfordsville Road." And I screamed, "We have to go to Applebee's."
Yes, you went.
My boyfriend looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, "You don't understand. It's the Applebee's, the one." And then right as soon as you get past that sign, there was a billboard for Applebee's on Crawfordsville Road. I was like, oh my God.
Incredible.
So we drove down to the Applebee's. It was after 9 o'clock, so we didn't have time to like eat dinner there because we were already so behind schedule, but went to the parking lot and took my picture, so I can say that I've been at the Applebee's.
Yeah, shame you didn't get to go in. It's pretty well reviewed on the internet, 3.8 stars. That's pretty good for an Applebee's location. Jessica, the waitress, is apparently pretty good.
Nice. Well, the three of us will have to have a nice family dinner there sometime.
Yeah, we'll make it out there for sure.
Yeah. But after that, my boyfriend was like, well, back at the track, I think the tunnel was open. He's like, I saw cars coming in and out of it. He's like, let's just go back and we'll just see. What's the worst that can happen? So we turned back around and went to the tunnel, and we drove through, and it was open. And at the entrance, there was a security guard waiting for us. And I was like, oh, well,
Yeah.
he's going to tell us to get the hell out of here. And we pulled up, and we were like, oh, we were just passing by, just taking a look. And he's like, oh, pull on in, get out, walk around. You can go up this little ramp right here. It'll take you right next to the racetrack. You can go up to the steps of the museum, take your picture. So
Oh, that's awesome.
that was awesome. He kind of let us have a little free reign there. It was a really beautiful sunset. There was random fireworks going off across the city because, it's 4th of July Eve. So just kind of walked around, took it all in. That place is massive.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a bucket list item to go for a race one day.
Yeah, that was actually a question I had for you about that place. I know I asked you the same thing about Talladega, standing in the center of it. Like, do you even realize you're in a racetrack when you're in the center of that place because you're
Barely.
surrounded by golf courses and?
You can only see like a little small part of the grandstands too. Like you can kind of see the pagoda way off in the distance. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Incredible.
the place is huge. So yeah, that was neat. And then after that, we drove to Chicago. We got there about 12:30, and the hotel we were staying at was right on Congress, and they had already shut that road down to build out part of the racetrack. So it's kind of an ordeal trying to get in the hotel and trying to get to our parking garage because it was also blocked off from construction stuff. So I think I got into bed till like 3 a.m. So it was a full 24-hour day for me.
Pretty standard Chicago parking experience right there.
Yeah, but it was neat. I mean, staying on the street at 2 in the morning, they were out there actively building the track all night long. We could hear the tractors with their backup beeping noises all night long out there building. So
Putting all those walls that move when you hit them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say the city promoted the shit out of that race. Every single street lamp had like banners on it. Every single bus stop had, billboards on it. They were animated billboards all across the city, regular billboards. Like, they really went all out, so.
No kidding.
Yeah, so that was
That was all one day?
Thursday.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. We'll say. So the hotel we stayed at was the Congress Plaza, which was right there on the main road, right at the racetrack. I'm sure you've seen pictures and shots of it from the race, because it's got that kind of iconic signage across the top that says Congress Hotel. But yeah, built in 1893, it is known as the most haunted hotel in Chicago.
Oh.
I didn't see any ghosts. Luckily, we didn't stay on the 12th floor. That's haunted by a little boy. We stayed on the 7th floor. But
Who haunts that one?
this 12th floor?
No, the 7th floor you were on.
Oh, apparently one of the rooms has a shadow man in it, but we weren't in that room.
What room doesn't? The Benadryl.
We did walk down to the floor below us, the 6th floor, and room 666 no longer exists. They have boarded it up and like wallpapered over the doorway.
Oh.
But you can still see like cracks around where the door was, so it's fun.
Something? Wonder what's going on in there.
I don't know.
There's a little boy ghost on the 12th
They're
floor?
on the 12th floor because his mom threw him and his brother out the window in like the early 1900s or something. I don't know.
It's not something
Anyways,
you
right
put
across the
This is not something you put a plaque up for in most places. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, we can walk right out the front doors, and the track's literally feet from us, so it's convenient. Friday, 4th of July, it's our day off to kind of just explore the city, do whatever we wanted. First thing we did was go get our credentials. So this was our first time like near the entrance of the track.
Yeah.
They had that, I'm sure you've all seen it at racetracks, the NASCAR experience signage, and it's got a cup car up top that's, I don't know, got squiggly paint designs on it. It's like a photo op. It's a big photo op.
Yeah.
So that was open to the public. So there were tons of just random people coming up and taking pictures. They had one small merch tent outside too in the public. So I went ahead and bought a program and a koozie because the rest of the event merch sucked, especially the shirts.
Yeah. What was it like?
Just the same fanatics bullshit that they shell out for every race.
Yeah.
They just put the word Chicago on it instead.
Perfect.
I just bid on a Chicago street race hockey jersey from last year on eBay for $1.
Nice.
Why? I don't know, but it's $1.
Well, it's $1. I'm gonna go bid $2 right now. One thing that was a little different though is, Chicago always has a big music act that's like one of their big ticket promotions for this race. So This year it was Zach Brown, and they had Zach Brown Chicago street race themed merch, which, that's different because I don't go to races and see Tim Duggar NASCAR merch in the hauler, so.
No.
So they had shirts and hats and koozies for that.
I did ask a buddy of mine who went to the IndyCar race if they had Ozzy Rosenquist shirts, and they did not, unfortunately. So I'm glad I didn't go.
I saw them setting up the Cup Garage. It's right there in the streets.
That's cool.
After that, we went to the Bean because it was right next to the track. So check that off the touristy list. It was fucking crowded.
Yep.
I didn't realize that the inside of the Bean though was so neat and trippy. So it's kind kind of cool.
I've never seen it.
Well, the underside of the bean, I should say.
Oh, you didn't get in there? It's a very bean-centric trip for you so far.
Lots of beans. One neat thing about this race is, and friends that have been to this race told me the same thing going into it. No one in the city knows who any of the NASCAR drivers are, so you'll just see NASCAR drivers walking, up and down the sidewalks.
Yeah.
And no one gives them a second glance. So.
Any sightings?
Quite a few. Saw Shannon Spake at breakfast, which that's not a big name, but it's a NASCAR person. Kim Kuhn walking the streets. We passed Anthony Alfredo walking down the street. He was wearing a giant dude wipe shirt.
Very cool.
We passed by. It looked like a fancy restaurant, and standing outside of the restaurant on the street was Rick Ware. And he was standing alone, but he was like making weird faces and like sticking his tongue out and just being so fucking odd.
To who? Was he like doing this at people?
No, just standing there by himself.
Hell yeah.
It was weird.
He's got that Howard Hughes money now from selling the team, so he can go off the rails a little bit.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Weird one. Past Todd Gill, and he was just walking down the street with like his girlfriend and a couple friends.
I don't know if I could pick him out of a lineup if I tried.
He's pretty tall.
Oh, okay.
Also past Hocevar walking down the sidewalk. He was by himself, but he was very, very hunched over with like his head buried in his phone. So I almost missed him just because he was so hunched over that he didn't look like his normal giraffe self.
It's just just shit posting.
Yeah. We walked down. We had a boat tour scheduled, but we had some free time before, so we were going to walk down to Portillo's to get lunch because that's what everyone recommended me that I asked.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, walked down there. We were on a bit of a time crunch, though, so kind of in a hurry. Walked in, and holy fuck, what a touristy nightmare. The line was out the door. I was like, oh no, what have we done? But while we were in line, I saw Connor Zillich and Jesse Love in line together, getting sandwiches together, doing bro things. So
Oh, that's cute.
it was cute little sandwich date. But oh my God, I will dream of that Italian beef sandwich that I had there for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it lives up to the hype. It's very good.
Does it? Interesting.
It just melts in your mouth. It was so fucking good.
And speaking of Italian beef, got to give a shout out to the Bear ripoff that Blaney and Stenhouse and Ty Dillon of all people did on the NASCAR Twitter account. That was pretty funny.
Oh, I missed that.
I didn't see that either.
What? I thought I sent it to you guys. No, it's like a 2-minute clip, and Blaney's just fucking cussing the whole time.
Perfect.
And yeah, they're kind of like shitting on Ty. It's great.
It's just normal NASCAR.
Yeah, pretty much.
After that, we basically sprinted back to the river full of wet meats in our belly in the heat to make this boat tour.
That's not a... That's the wrong order of operations there.
I regretted everything so much in that moment.
Eat a big wet sandwich, run, and then get on a boat for a little while. Perfect.
And the boat was so fucking crowded, too, because it was the 4th of July.
Even better.
But we're standing in line to get on this boat. We're towards the end of the line because we're, a little late from our meets. And we're getting on, and someone from the boat yells, like, oh my God, is that Andy Sapp, who's my boyfriend? And he looks up and he sees one of his old drifting buddies on the boat.
No shit.
So that guy, his name's Ryan Turk. He's a pro drifter, and he is like the main guy for Toyota Gazoo. So if you ever see any like Toyota commercials with drifting, it's probably him. But
oh shit.
Yeah, I guess 2311 had flown him in to drift at an event that they were throwing on Saturday. It was called the Jordan 2311 Takeover. Reddick and Hamlin were there, like, I guess unveiling a scheme or a shoe, or I don't know what it was.
Whatever the fuck, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very neat and random.
That's cool.
We didn't get to go to that event because the timing didn't work out, but I saw a bunch of stuff on social media from it, and I'll have to share a picture because Reddick and Hamlin, these outfits they were wearing were
ridiculous. Yeah,
ridiculous.
I saw one photo of both of them. Reddick is, I don't know, man. It's just not. His whole look these days is not for me. I know he's bulking up and that's fine, but the mullet and everything.
The fluffy mullet.
The mullet doesn't bother me, but the clothes, yeah.
Yeah, the picture I saw, he had on like these big baggy windbreaker pants and like a giant oversized Jordan shirt, and then Hamlin had on like a ill-fitting shirt and multicolored jeans that had a design that looked like my tan lines from Talladega.
Perfect.
And then ripped jeans. It looked the meme. What's the meme? How do you do, fellow kids? So, anyway,
who knows? Maybe 2311 is going to go race Formula One after this, because that's what it looked like to me. Bunch of Formula One bullshit.
Yeah. Did the boat tour, 4th of July. I don't know. Tons of yachts out on the river. Lots of bros partying on their yachts. Lots of jet skis.
Nice.
That city definitely has a ton of money.
Yeah.
Lots of boats and beautiful people. So, sweated on that. I will say the water smells like sewage, and the whole city kind of in general had an overall like pee-pee smell. So.
Well, yeah, that's a lot of big cities are like that. And Chicago's right up there with like New York. So.
Yeah, a lot of pee-pee everywhere.
A lot of pee-pee. And then after the boat, Andy has a friend, Charlie, and his wife who live in the North Park area. So drove out there, had a cookout, had like a full Chicago dog set up for the hot dogs.
Hell yeah.
It was neat. Went to the local park, and it was kind of one of those like free-for-all, bring your own fireworks, chaos.
Yep. Yeah, we have those around here.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Love it.
And I also had my first taste of
Malort.
Malort.
Yeah,
thank you.
What did you think, Truelove? Or do you remember it?
Well, I remember it. I brought it up. I was like, yeah, everyone's telling me about this liquor. And he's like, hold on a second. He goes into his dungeon and brings out this unopened bottle that he had.
Yeah.
And he's like, just smell it. And I smelled it, and I was like, I didn't really have a smell to it, which surprised me. Nice. And then took a shot of it, and I thought I had just swallowed cleaning solution.
You gotta have.
Yeah. It was a deep burn and a very lingering aftertaste.
Yeah, it's special.
I've never had it, and I don't ever plan to. I don't need to know what that tastes like. I'm good.
It's worth it.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm good.
Both Truelove and I have drank Malort this year, so by the end of this season of Meet Me at Applebee's, we're going to have to change that for you.
No, you're going to have to fucking force it on me at the World Finals or whatever. Okay. It's not going to happen.
Well, consider it done.
Perfect. Get your boy on the horn and have him fly us a bottle of Malort out. I'll do it with you.
It's cool. You can do both of them for me. I want no part of it.
It's a little pre-gaming for Applebee's.
That's true. I'm proud of you, Truelove. I really am.
Yeah. Well, when in Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all the pre-race stuff, I guess, before Saturday. Saturday was the longest day of the weekend by far. let's see, all the Xfinity practice qualifying, then the Xfinity race, Cup practice qualifying. It was.
Were you there for the whole thing?
We were. We went and got breakfast beforehand at the hotel, and that ended up turning into a very long ordeal. So we didn't get there quite as early as we wanted, but we still went and spent the full day.
That's cool.
The way they had it set up was everyone goes through security. Even if you don't have a ticket, the public can come in. They just have to go through security. And the public has access to, I think it was called Butler Field or Butler Park. But it was a big open field. And they had a few things set up. They had like a really big like Army display. And then they had a photo op with like a truck that was wrapped and an Xfinity car that was wrapped. And a couple merch booths and a couple other little random interactives. So I guess they were just trying to get the public in there and maybe like, hey, you're already here.
Yeah.
Why don't you buy a ticket? And then past that park was the ticket gate. So
Yeah.
yeah, as soon as you walk in, there's a big Chicago Street Race logo photo op. There was a huge Arby's set up. Like Arby's went all out for this race.
Nice.
They had one of Cody's cars out there wrapped in that big ass cheesesteak, which worked because on the way home we stopped at Arby's and I got the cheesesteak and it was pretty good for
Really?
Arby's. Yeah, I like it way better than whatever the fuck those sandwiches are they sell there. So
The flat.
I can't remember the last time. I only get the roast beef there. Just get the classic. It's so good. Yeah. I love it. It's trash meat, but it's great.
well, this was cheesy trash meat in a longer, skinnier form, and I enjoyed it. Arby's also had like a big wheel race set up where you ride these giant three-wheelers and you have to wear a helmet that has a cheesesteak on the top of it.
Perfect.
You know, win some prizes.
Yeah, they were talking about that on DBC. That sounded funny.
Yeah. Jose Cuervo had a huge setup that was like a very hip, elaborate, like patio, very fancy, like a full-blown DJ out there.
Perfect.
Yeah, this was next
Just
to
what
the-
you wanted, right?
Just what-
Fucking finally.
you know, Buckingham Fountain is right there, which I have always wanted to see since I was a child, just because I was such a huge Married with Children fan as a kid. So that was a bucket list for me.
That's cool.
Around the fountain, they had like a Busch Light display, and then the CW setup was there, and the TNT booth was there. Merch for this, like, obviously they couldn't bring in each individual merch hauler because they're so strapped for space. So
Right.
the setup for this, which I haven't seen before, it almost reminded me of a flea market. It was one big, long, open-air tent.
Oh, yeah.
And each driver had, like, an individual booth in that tent to walk up to and get stuff. So
They did that at other tracks almost 10 years ago. They tried to get rid of the haulers and people threw a fit.
Wait, that was when Fanatics took over everything.
Yeah.
Because I remember that's when I was starting to go back to races regularly. And yeah, I remember going to that at Darlington one year and it's like, this fucking sucks. Meanwhile, other people are like, oh, you can touch the clothes and stuff. I'm like, it's a fucking t-shirt, man. I don't need to touch everything.
well, at this, you couldn't touch the clothes. It was like a counter you walk up to for each driver, and then the clothes were behind them. But they did have a giant indoor tent, like y'all were talking about, that was air conditioned, and that was like, you could touch the clothes there, but it was like only event merch. There wasn't any driver merch in there.
No.
Though Samantha Bush had her own setup in that big tent with like hats with bedazzles and jewelry and hair clip.
Perfect.
And there was a hat that said, "Sorry about my husband." So, did buy an SVG shirt. It was Red Bull front and back, big print design. That was pretty good. And then Trek House had like a Chicago patch, so I was like, well, why not?
That's cool.
Trek House does a deal where you can buy either a shirt and a hat or 2 shirts or 2 hats for $50, and normally they're $40 each, so that's a great bargain.
That is a good deal.
but their merch sucks, so that's why I haven't
Well,
bought
this
any of it.
SVG shirt was good, and so me and my brother each got one.
You
so
finally
it
got
worked
one.
out. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They had so many photo ops set up all around this. They had another big photo op at the fountain. They had the Goodyear blimp flying around, which was cool. They had the marquee sign that goes to a bunch of races, like photo op that said "Welcome to Chicago." And these are all cool because, you know, the city backdrop. Toyota had a huge display with like a Reddick car you could sit in.
That's cool. So this
yeah, we just
sounds pretty different from a normal
Yes, very
NASCAR
much so.
experience, yeah.
Yeah. After that, we went to the Cup Garage. So my buddy Michael was nice enough to hook us up with passes for this. So these passes got us in the Cup Garage.
Oh, sure.
But they didn't. This race was different because normally those passes get you in the garage and on the pits, but this race they were being very strict. So the passes we had only got us in the garage. They didn't get us on the pits. I think pits were more reserved for like sponsors and family members to kind of keep the traffic down. So
That makes sense.
yeah, but walked to the garage a little bit. But when we got there, the garage was emptying out for practice. But saw a bunch of drivers walk by. You know, no one was really bothering them. I didn't want to bother them either because they were going to work. But one kind of funny thing was, I'm just kind of walking through the garage, just kind of taking a video. You know, like, oh, well, here's a video of the garage, and I see Larson walking towards me, and he's by himself. And he's got like his suit half unzipped walking through, and I'm taking this video, and he kind of walks into the video, and he sees me videoing. He's like, oh no, a fan. So he looks down and pretends to start looking at his watch, and I was like, okay, motherfucker. I didn't want to talk to you anyway.
We can sense it coming off you. He knows.
Yeah.
He's heard all the things you've said about him on this show.
So I turn around and like put my back to him and start walking the opposite direction, and he keeps walking towards me, and he ends up walking alongside me, so I'm shoulder to shoulder with my bestie walking through the garage.
Fuck yeah, you
and
are.
Andy's walking behind me, and he snaps a great picture that looks like I'm just hanging with my bud.
That's awesome. I'm gonna need a printout of that to hang on the wall.
I'll get you an 8x10.
Perfect.
Yeah. So cross over the bridge. Couldn't get in the pits, so we kind of just walked up along the fence line behind the pits, you know, check it out. But it didn't go all the way along the backside of the pits. It was just like the first few stalls. That was boring, so we decided that for Saturday, our main objective was mainly just to walk the track and, like, you know, just get the lay of the land, try to find the best spots to, like, watch from and make sure that we see everything. So, started out turn 12. As soon as we got there, they were towing Hamlin's car past us that, you know, shit the bed and practice. That was a super shady area. There were lots of chairs set up. You could bring your own chairs in as long as they didn't have a bag, or you could rent them at the track. Let's see.
Well, I don't want to get ahead of your notes or anything, but I do have a question about being at the facility. Obviously, you can't see the whole racetrack when you're down in there. How much of a struggle is it to find a good viewing point? And I guess, like, what is that even like at a street circuit like that doesn't have a lot of grandstands and doesn't have a lot of elevation to begin with?
It's tough. I'll get into more of it later in my notes that get more detailed, but that park is so massive, and you really can only see what's directly in front of you, and then you have to walk a pretty good distance to get to the next viewing point. Like,
yeah, you know. Were there video boards up?
There were a few. It seemed like they kind of put video boards in front of grandstands. Like, they were definitely catering more to people who paid for grandstand tickets. But there were one or two that were out in the, like, general, you know, standing room areas. So they were there, and they had, you know, loudspeakers set up all around too, so you could hear the track announcers.
That's cool.
Yeah. Where was I? Another photo op they had a Cup car wrapped, said Cup Series 25 on a overpass bridge by itself with the city backdrop. So lots of people taking pictures with it. There was no shortage of photo ops that they set up around the track. And, you know, they had subway trains rolling under those bridges too in the middle of the race, which was cool. Our favorite spot to stand, where we spent the most time, was turn 9 in the loop. It was directly across the street from our hotel. It was the turns with the, you know, little statues, the guys on the horses. Yeah. Because you could see them coming out of 8 and then standing in 9, going through 9, and then around to 10. But the downfall of that is it was in direct sunlight. There was no shade in that area, so it was super hot. One plus I will say is thank y'all for putting all of the porta potties in the shade. They were still hot, but thank God they were in the shade.
It's the little things that count.
It really is. Our other favorite spot was turn 7. There's a long straightaway between 7 and 8, and that sucked because the walls right there were so high that you literally couldn't even see the race cars at all. But you could see them in turn 7 and coming over the hill out of turn 6. They were like Dukes of Hazzarding over that hill, hauling ass. So that was a good vantage point too. And it was super shady over there, and there was a TV screen, so.
Perfect.
Yeah. Let's see. We had found another little secret spot. They ended up closing it down, though, and wouldn't let us stand there during the race, but that's where we ran into our buddy Bobby Marcos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so didn't get to hang out with him as much as I hoped this weekend. He was there working, but yeah, it's good to see Bobby.
That's cool. Yeah, great guy.
He is the best. I guess he was there working with the teardown, but after that, we went back to the pit fence. There was a huge crowd around Catherine Legg because, you know, I guess she just qualified her way into the race.
Yeah, knocked Corey Heim out.
Yeah. Our buddy BJ was there in his full affliction gear and skull chains. And
I'd expect nothing less.
Yep. So
the Prince of Darkness.
I spotted Tony Breidinger there just hanging out in the general crowd, not in the in the public, not behind the pits. So
yeah,
that was random. Walked back through the Cup garage after practice, and so many of the cars were so banged up, especially on the right side. There were just repairs going on all up and down through there. Chase's car was absolutely fucked. They were working their ass off on that car.
Yeah, there was a bunch of cars that got sent to the rear on Sunday for unapproved adjustments, and most of them were because of exactly what you just described.
All 400 cars started in the back.
Spotted BJ again. He was having a long conversation with Chase and Blaney, just, doing bro things.
Trying to sell them skull necklaces and T-shirts from the new mountain coaster. Y'all gotta come through and see the coaster, boys.
After that, there was like an hour break of nothing before the Xfinity race. My boyfriend had a headache. He forgot to bring his headache meds in with him, and we were starving. So we walked back to the hotel for a minute just to kind of get some relief from the heat and eat. And, the hotel was right there. So walking back to the race for the Xfinity, the race had already started, and it was such a cool experience walking down this public, super busy, touristy sidewalk, and there's an active race going on, and just seeing like people off the streets losing their minds. Like every time the cars would pass, just hordes of people would run up to the fence with their phones out, like mouths agape. Like it was so cool to see like the excitement and the energy and like people freaking out over it.
That's badass.
Yeah.
That's why they do it. That's why they stick these races in the middle of cities.
And yeah, that's exactly it. Xfinity race, I don't really have many notes. I mean, we just kind of hung out turn 9 and then turn 7. But yeah, so Zillage versus SVG.
That's true. I'm kind of curious, before we talk about the actual race itself, about the volume when you're in the city. Because I know it's one thing when it's bouncing off metal grandstands. Was it louder than normal? I know they probably run mufflers and all that at a street course. I know they do.
Yeah. It was definitely loud. I mean, we were still in our hotel room when the Xfinity race started, and I could not hear the cars at all. I could see them from my window, but I couldn't hear them. So I don't know if that's a testament to soundproofing at the hotel or...
Yeah.
But walking on the sidewalks, like that shit reverberates off the buildings, and you're kind of in this, like,
that's cool.
Giant wall of buildings, too. So it was loud as fuck.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. But yeah, I don't know if y'all have anything else to say about the Xfinity race.
I did not watch it.
The one thing I noticed is on Saturday, I saw more Connor Zillage shirts than any other driver, and it was all like young bros wearing them. So
I guess that's not a huge surprise.
Yeah.
The race was fine. I don't have any major notes about it. I mean, it was a fine race. At the end, you saw a rare moment of SVG getting a little bit aggressive, running Connor Zillage wide into that one turn and getting him into the wall a little bit, but it was fine. Connor's, for as good of a driver as he is, he's been
weapon.
He's been a bit of a weapon at times. So I don't feel bad for him getting a tiny bit of retribution. And again, it really wasn't even that bad. If he, SVG just ran him wide into the corner, and he could have let off, and he didn't, and he got into the wall, but I think he still finished second, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I will say, if you're familiar with the Supercar series at all, that is one of Shane's signature moves. He definitely is known for doing that. He hasn't pulled it out in NASCAR that much, but I guess if people ask for it enough, he'll show you the cool thing.
Well, yeah, I don't
Connor
think he's
definitely did.
Yeah, really, Connor's probably been one of the few that really put up much of a battle with him when he's in that position. So yeah, that's probably why he hasn't had to use it. But
future teammates.
I saw that on that restart too, before they got to that turn, that when the green flag dropped, that Zillage had doored SVG on the start. So SVG was like, well, you've already doored me, so now it's game on for whatever.
Yeah, Junior had an interesting perspective on his show, talking about it being the owner of both cars, and he's like, well, I was surprised SVG did that, but at the same time, like, I'm not totally surprised it wasn't that bad of a move, and he kind of had to play both sides there. But it is what it is.
Still picking up both bills for that.
Yeah.
Those Red Bull cars did look really good in person.
Yeah, I bet.
Yep. Is that it for?
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to say about Saturday. It was fine, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch it at all.
Also, I took every opportunity that I had to flip off Austin Hill every time he drove by.
Nice. Well, actually, one note about that race. There was a photo of him flipping off somebody. Who was that?
Daniel Dye.
Daniel Dye, yes. So,
the guy that flipped him off the week prior. So there we
He pitched a
go.
fit about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
can dish it out, can't take it.
Yep.
I'm sure Daniel didn't
right.
care as much as Austin Hill did.
Yeah, so after the Xfinity race was like the NASCAR's big concert night. So every year for Chicago, they have a big music act that brings in probably half their crowd, honestly, because
Yeah.
I saw people as we were leaving who were still like running in late to the concert who were very clearly just there for Zach Brown.
Yeah.
But in order to get to that concert, you have to have a Sunday ticket. So, you know, they're making their money selling those Sunday tickets just for these girls in knee-high boots to go see Zach on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, can't say I'm a Zach Brown music fan, but my boyfriend Andy did work with them on the road for like 11 years. So before the concert, we got to, meet up with those guys for a minute before they went on. So that was cool. The Sasquatch guy, the Jack Link's Sasquatch guy,
Yeah.
came walking off their tour bus, which was very random. Very random sight to see. We did get the chance to go on Zach's tour bus for a second just to say hey to him and meet his girlfriend, and holy shit, the inside of that bus is nothing but like animals that he's killed in Africa on his hunting trips.
So it's like the middle of the Richard Childress Museum.
Jeez.
I walked on there and there's like chairs made out of like, I don't know, antelope horns. I was like,
Oh,
how
yeah.
is this comfortable for the road?
I mean, he ain't riding in that thing.
It definitely caught me off guard, but
That's
Zach's
amazing.
very nice. Every time I met him, he's super nice. So, but yeah, then they, went on stage. We watched a couple songs, but, Andy watched them play every night for 11 years, so it's not like we needed.
Yeah, he's been there, done that.
Been there, done that. I guess the past 2 years they've had that concert in the field, but this year they put it on the front stretch. Was a interesting choice because it's pretty a squished area.
Yeah, it's not that wide.
People were lined up all the way down pit road on the wall, like people at the very end. I turned back, I was like, you can't even fucking see the stage from here, but they were there, so.
I guess that's pretty cool if you are a race fan to be sitting on the pit wall watching a show, but
That's true.
maybe not for the knee-high boot crew, the boot barn kids that you were describing.
Those poor girls, they had to walk so far in those boots.
Yeah, they did. But not you.
Not me. I don't my comfy shoes. Yeah, after the race, like, I wanted to go out to some bars and meet up with some of the, crew guys, but I was exhausted, so
Yeah.
we just went, got dinner, and watched some fireworks from the sidewalk and went to bed, so.
Nice. I mean, it was pretty hot up there, wasn't it?
Saturday was crazy hot, and like there was no cloud coverage on Saturday, so it was just direct baking and sweating, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember you texting us and saying how uncomfortable it was. Was that the day you saw that kid wearing a jacket?
That was
The full-
Sunday.
Okay, we'll get there.
So Sunday, rain was in the forecast, but it wasn't supposed to show up until like 3 or 4 o'clock. But luckily that meant there was at least cloud coverage, but it was still 90 degrees, like raging humidity.
Yeah.
So, okay, so Sunday, Cup race. I will say the freaks were out for this one.
Hell yeah. Do tell.
I mean, just all the like city street performers were right outside the gates. There was like a lady in like a ostrich costume.
Yeah.
Dancing around. There was a lady in a motorized bathtub with like a bubble machine.
Hell yeah, like 4,000 bucket drummers.
So many bucket drummers, and they're so aggressive too with their Cash App signs and. So, yeah, very lively.
Yeah, usually you see that sort of thing out in the campgrounds, not right in front of the racetrack.
Oh yeah. Security for this race, well, all weekend was super strict. Like, they were very strict about what you could bring in, what type of bags. Like, it was probably the strictest race I've ever been to, and you could tell that this was definitely an outside company that they hired that doesn't typically work races, because there was no, they weren't relaxed on anything. Like, they were very thorough about checking badges and who could go in what area, and like,
yeah.
So that was kind of a bummer, because sometimes at races, if you just act like you belong there, then they'll let you through. But
right, yeah,
that was not the case for this. Got there Sunday, walked through the garage. They were kind of starting to roll them out to the grid. I did spot Corey LaJoy hanging out next to the number 9 team, which was like,
the hell is he doing?
What are you doing here? I don't know. He had no reason to be there.
Just in case.
Mm-hmm. Just in case. Let's see. Went back out to the fan zone because Saturday we didn't get to cover all the fan zone because it was just so massive. Like, when you're inside that park, it just goes on forever. I did spot my TV boyfriend, Jamie Mack, at the TNT booth.
Nice.
He was sitting in a very tall chair and just swinging his little feetsies. They were doing like a EV car test that day.
Oh, yeah, I saw a video of that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So while we were walking to the track, they were running these cars, so that's what we heard from outside the track walking in, which was very bizarre. It sounded like spaceships were landing, but they sounded fast. I couldn't see them, but they sounded fast. So spotted Raja and David Reagan talking about those. Some social media guy came up wanting to ask us questions about them, and he caught me off guard so bad. He was like, "What do you think?" And I think I just said, "They sound like aliens." I walked away.
I didn't see any clips or anything of that. I knew it was happening, but I saw no coverage of it.
Yeah, I saw one clip of the three of them kind of ripping around. They look that they've got some speed to them. I mean, they should, and the way those motors work on the wheels. But yeah, pretty neat. Pretty neat to see. I would have been interested to see that in person, especially if David Reagan is out there.
You're number one.
The man.
The man.
He's your neighbor, isn't he?
This time technically. The same state.
Perfect.
Like,
yeah.
Does he live in Georgia, or does he still live in North Carolina?
I couldn't tell you.
Who knows? You're supposed to know these things. We went to the far side of the fan zone, which we didn't go the first day, where they had like a big motocross thing set up with some big ramps and,
That's cool.
dirt bikes doing cool flip tricks and, so that was neat. Friend of the program, Buddy, has been to this race the past couple years, but he couldn't go this year. But he told us that we needed to sit in turn 6 because that was the best view. And so we walked to turn 6 to scope it out, and it was so packed. It was probably 40 people deep to the fence. I was like, there's no way I'm putting up with this today. So
But he told too many people about it.
he told too many people. But yeah, that's where I spotted the guy in the full-blown winter leather Budweiser jacket.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
It's not even appropriate for rain.
it's not.
That's awful.
Yeah, it was bad.
He didn't have shorts on either, did he?
Nope, he had jeans on and a Chase Elliott shirt.
Perfect. Yeah. I want the kind of autism that makes me immune to hot weather.
It's not. I don't think it's autism. It's just like some dickhead, especially in a place like Chicago. Like he's at the race and he's got to show off. He's got this cool jacket and stuff. It's like motherfucker. It's 100 out. What are you doing? Yeah.
Regardless, whatever it takes to be able to not sweat and die like that, I would happily be afflicted. Whether it's vanity or some sort of disorder, I would take it on a day like that.
I was in shorts and I wanted to die. But,
Yeah.
let's see. We went over to turn 9 to start the race out. They paraded the drivers around on those little hayride wagons that they do now. They did some fireworks and they had 4 helicopters for the flyover. And then Hostvar kicked things off with his little boo-boo.
Yeah, that was quite the boo-boo.
It happened right past us. We couldn't really hear the accident, but we definitely heard everyone let up off the gas all of a sudden, but it was just out of our eyesight, so...
Yeah, I think he did something similar to half the field in practice and qualifying, clipping that wall and just couldn't get it wound up, and Austin Dillon drove right into him, and then pretty much everybody else as well.
Else? Yep.
Yeah, and the impersonator himself
Yeah.
got on the radio and called Carson the stupidest driver. That everybody knows how stupid he is. Yeah, I don't know. Pot calling kettle black, whatever analogy you want to use, but
Yeah, I would say that you can't really judge a driver too much for what he says in the heat of the moment on the radio. That wasn't in an interview or anything like that. That was right after he got collected in somebody else's mess. But yeah, still pretty fucking rich.
Don't try to give him credit, Rob.
Oh, I wasn't. I'm just saying. It's very rich to be coming from Austin Dillon.
My favorite thing about that incident was Hostvar's car breaking off the tow truck.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
Yeah. I guess, too, at one point I went to go get water. Shout out to them for having lots of free water refill stations.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because you couldn't bring in your own water. You could only bring in empty bottles. But I guess while I was gone to do that, Dillner walked right by where we were standing, and I missed it. I didn't even know he was going to be there, so I was bummed. Yeah, and then the sun came back out and started kicking our fucking asses again, so we moved to turn 7 for shade at the end. And then storms were starting to roll in, but it wasn't raining yet. And then, yeah, I mean, the race happened. I mean, like I said, I could only see what was happening right in front of me, and I was kind of limited on what I could hear or what I could see on the TV screen. So
Yeah.
for me, I was just kind of invested in a couple of the bracket battles, and
Did you have a scanner or the NASCAR app open or anything like that?
I didn't have the scanner, but I was able to use the app. Cell service was amazing there, so
Right,
I
right.
could
Yeah,
use
was it
the
you
internet.
that was like, I wonder if my phone will work? You're in a fucking major city. Of course your phone's gonna work.
Well, your battery will
never
die
know.
when there's that many
My
people.
battery was
Yeah.
definitely the issue. Was
Get one of those little battery packs.
I have one, but there's... Shut up, Brian. Yeah, I don't know. The end of the race was kind of a wet fart, but I didn't know the full scope of the Ware incident until way after the race because...
Well, neither did NASCAR, so...
Yeah, no one had any idea.
You weren't the only one. I guess this is where Rob and I can kind of kick up things a little bit. I mean, it was a good race on TV.
I enjoyed it. I watched about the first 10 laps on television. I had to go pick up my wife from the airport in the middle of it, so on the drive out to Logan, I had it on MRN, and as always, it did a great job kind of describing what was happening, so no complaints there. And I got to the cell phone lot just in time to catch the last 10 laps when things really turned up there. I can't speak on the complaints that I heard about the TNT coverage. Brian, can you offer any insight on that?
I would say their main issue was cutting away at bad times. Like there was one instance where that one caution came out wasn't even for anything on the track. They had to get an ambulance for a fan or something.
Yeah.
They cut to commercial and just said, "Oh, we got a caution," and it was a fucking commercial. So didn't even explain anything till they came back. There were a lot of missed shots. There were a lot of times where guys were banging back and forth, and they'd cut away, and then somebody would spin. They didn't fucking show. Just a lot of stupid shit that was happening that was very Fox reminiscent.
Yeah, the booth was a little lost too. But then again, I think were they in a trailer again?
I can't remember if Junior said that, but I mean, I know NASCAR was controlling the race from Charlotte, which that's fucking stupid. Yeah. And then they said TNT has a new director and, combined a new director with the, street race, which is a little different than a normal race. I can give him a little slack, but yeah, it was pretty bad as far as just missing a lot of stuff on the track and whatnot.
Yeah, even the little bit that I saw, I can definitely say that it wasn't the prime quality we got used to and were lucky to receive last week.
It was not the greatest performance by them.
One thing I didn't understand, sorry to cut you off, but I didn't understand why they didn't have the radio style broadcast set up like they have at road courses sometimes.
Well, I think that's probably because they have all the guys set up in the trailer or whatever.
Probably so. It just works so well at Watkins Glen and other places where they have people on cherry pickers here and there, but...
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. As far as the race itself, McDowell jumped out and had an early lead, and he had issues with his throttle cable and had to pull out of the race. And while I do think he would have put on a good show with SVG later on in the race, Freddie Kraft put it this way. It looked like Michael McDowell at the beginning of the race was driving 105%, whereas SVG was just kind of biding his time and waiting.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, it was way too early in the race to predict if there really would have been a battle at the end, but if anybody had anything for SVG that day, it was McDowell. So, not that I'm a McDowell fan, but I mean, I always like good competition, and it would have been interesting to see what happened there. And I have a feeling that it'll be a battle this weekend in Sonoma, so at least we have that to look forward to. There were a bunch of issues with, guys spinning, and Barry, there was at one point, they waited a while to see if he could get going again.
It was
and
2 laps.
It was a long time.
I'm not kidding, it was 2 laps.
Yeah, it was a very long time.
Yeah, a lot of race control issues this week. I think people, because of the run of races that Prime had that were so entertaining to watch, just from an entertainment perspective and a broadcast perspective, I think people kind of had forgotten about how shitty race control was.
Yeah.
The first few months of the year, and that was fully on display this week.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was bad. And again, they're controlling the race from Charlotte. They said they had cameras in every corner. But maybe they only had one person watching every fucking monitor because there was a lot of stuff that got missed.
It just blinked. One guy, one monitor, just blinking between the cameras every 30 seconds is what I would imagine. Because pretty fucking crazy. I will get to it in a second, but Cody Ware's wreck was just fucking insane.
Yeah. Obviously, I think the biggest talking point as far as on-track stuff went is the Bowman and Bubba incident, which... I think, if you're looking at it completely objectively, no matter what you think of either driver, to me, it's insane that you can have any take other than that was Bubba's fault.
Oh, yeah,
the whole
100%.
thing was Bubba's fault. Bubba was overdriving the car. Bowman had newer tires. this is a situation where somebody like Mark Martin bitches about how drivers race today and are way too aggressive when they don't need to be. It's a situation where Bubba should just let him go. I mean, him and Reddick were way faster. He did everything he could to hold up Bowman, and yes, granted, they have history together and whatnot.
That probably had something to do with it, I think.
It probably did, and also the bracket challenge, which again, is not. You have to look bigger picture, and granted, who knows if they'll even have charters at the end of the season, but like Bubba, there's more money involved getting in the playoffs than there is winning that bracket challenge. And Bubba screwed himself there. He's, you can say what you want about spotters not doing their jobs.
They couldn't see.
Not being able to do their jobs, I should say. Because, I went back and watched the in-car footage, and, Freddie's on the radio the whole time, but he couldn't actually see what was happening during that incident. And, yes, both of them were aggressive, but Bubba was overly aggressive when he didn't need to be, and he should have just taken the L and kept a top 15 finish and kept him in a better points position. It was all Bubba's fault. He tried to clear himself off Bowman's nose twice, and the second time it fucking didn't work out for him. So I don't care.
It wasn't even Bowman retaliating. It was just Bubba coming across his nose and.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like one time, like Bubba started it. Bowman, when he was trying to pass him, and I think after the first time Bubba tried to clear off his nose, he gave him a little tiny tap going in one of the turns just to move him up the track a little bit. Didn't hit him hard. Bubba didn't hit the wall or nothing. Didn't get too loose. It sucks because I did see, the fan response. There's two main responses. One, I saw a handful of Bubba fans thinking it was Alex's fault. It wasn't Alex's fault, man. No. Every driver is going to fuck up. Your favorite driver is going to make a mistake. And as a fan, be an adult about it and just be like, yep, he fucked up. That was his fault. And a lot of Bubba fans weren't doing that. The other shitty response was the Kyle Larson effect of, somebody spun out Bubba. We're fans of him now. Why is that? Think about that. These same fuckers were shitting on Alex Bowman's pride scheme the week prior, and now his biggest fans because they spun out Bubba Wallace. No bullshit. That happened quite a bit. And that fucking sucks. And it sucks that, it's one of those things where, people are like, oh, Alex should acknowledge that and tell fans to fuck off. And while it'd be nice if he did that, he's also under no obligation to even acknowledge those assholes.
No, not at all.
No. And and also, too, after that incident, all the TV interviews, most of them were done with Alex before they actually interacted. Everybody thought, oh, there's going to be a fight, blah, blah, blah. Well, Alex did all these interviews and was like, I don't know what he was thinking there. They actually did have a brief interaction, and it was positive. Like Bubba was smiling. They were both kind of like slapping backs. And I also think Bubba really understood that he fucked up there because, he did. You can't do what he did and blame somebody else because it was all on him.
When they talked to, there were fans around them that were screaming, trying to entice some bullshit too. So.
Yeah, and no, it's. I'm glad that those guys were able to kind of just shake hands and walk away, and there's no beef. But it's because it was clearly 100% Bubba Wallace's fault. As a Bubba fan, I like both those guys. I'm probably a little bit bigger of a Bubba fan, but it was 100% his fault, and there's no denying that from anybody.
Yeah, no question about that.
It just sucks anytime Bubba's involved in anything, it gets blown.
Of course. Well, yeah, that's
way out of.
That's unfortunately the shitty portion of the NASCAR fan base that feels that way and makes it out to be something that it's not. You had Ross Chastain. He got knocked out of the way by. I don't know if it was Priest
Austin
or
Cindric, wasn't it?
It might have been Cindric.
Ran into Larson or something.
Yeah,
ran into Chastain.
Yeah,
it was a whole fucking mess where Chastain got knocked out of line, and then he went and immediately spun out Joey Logano, which is kind of funny. But
I love
also,
that.
Joey confronted him after the race, and then turned into a cop calling bitch, saying, "Oh, Ross admitted he spun me out. He needs to get fined." Like, well, he didn't do it on TV, which is the smart thing to do, if he even admitted it at all.
Another pot calling the kettle black situation.
Yeah, exactly. So fuck Joey Logano.
Amen.
And fuck most of the NASCAR fans are being stupid.
Preach, Brian. Come on.
Yep. That's what I'm here to do is to tell you motherfuckers what's up. Also, well, we're going to mention the Cody Ware thing in a second here. The Arby's Twitter account was pretty funny most of the day. Their highlight being one of the times Bubba spun. He was spun backwards and staring at a bunch of Arby's banners, and they said something about a McDouble or something. And some bullshit, but it was very funny. But they were dead silent after the Arby's car, you know.
Cody Ware died.
Yeah, after Cody Ware died. And yeah, so I guess now we can get to the end of the race and what happened. So yeah, we got two laps to go. 2 laps to go, and the rain's coming. SVG's got a good lead, and we see Cody Ware in the tires now. You know, first thought, no big deal. He's out of the way. You know, he's fine.
And
this
lots
has
of
happened
guys
before.
yeah, exactly. A lot of guys have dove into that tire barrier and backed that. Kyle Larson backed out of that tire barrier once.
Exactly. So NASCAR was, you know, theoretically giving him grace and seeing if he can get out of there. But what actually happened, which we all saw after the fact, was that his brake rotor failed and he went into that wall almost 100 miles an hour.
After shaving speed off by clapping the wall on the right side.
Yeah, it was the hardest impact in the next gen car recorded to date. You know, again, none of us here are Cody Ware fans, but that's an incredibly shitty thing to happen. And then NASCAR just didn't know what happened. You know, again, going back to we've got, you know, cameras in every corner. Well,
we know what happened. The rain was coming, and they wanted to make sure that SVG crossed the line before.
Yeah,
the
I mean, it would have been either it's going to rain and turn into a shit show, or it's just going to be a shit show in general on the restart. So yeah, NASCAR can say, "Oh, we missed it," blah blah blah. You know, they knew what they were doing. Even if they somehow missed it, they knew they wanted to get that finish in and not have it be a complete chaos. So
obviously,
spoiler alert, it didn't rain.
It didn't rain, really.
No,
I thought it rained.
It sprinkled a little bit, but it never rained enough to like be wet.
No kidding.
Okay, I heard it from, maybe it was just a different part of the track. I mean, it's a big area there, but I'd heard it started raining right after. But
yeah, I mean, there's 1,000 ways you can slice it. And again, as fans at home or even at the racetrack, we don't have all the metrics or information that the folks on the inside do. But it looked pretty fucking obvious from the home perspective what they did there. And again, like, I think it's fair to say that they thought maybe he was going to back out and make his way around. But the fact that there was nobody standing there that was qualified to understand that wasn't going to happen. Because, I mean, y'all saw that fan video of him just hauling into that tire barrier.
Well, it's funny you mentioned somebody there not being qualified. Eric Jones was talking about that on Door Bumper Clear, and he said there was some guy that was literally waving a flag the entire time. Like every lap, he'd see the guy waving a different
flag. The blue flag guy,
Yeah, so...
Those guys in the all-white were all around the track. They were stationed at every corner, multiple of them. And every time I ever saw any of them, they all had their back to the track. They weren't paying attention to anything. They were just kind of like, ugh, I have to be here. So
I mean, a lot of road racing, most road racing series and big tracks, even Formula One, like those corner marshals are not paid. They're volunteers. I think the difference is that they're going to places like in Formula One, it's Silverstone or Spa, or, you know, if it's the U.S., it's Road America or Watkins Glen, or a place that actually has a group of people that are there all the time and know the racetrack. Sometimes they get paid, but it's not much. You know, it's like a part-time job. So, but they obviously don't have that for Chicago, and NASCAR doesn't have that many flagmen they can station around the racetrack. So again, kind of one of those things that you don't know how to fix until it happens, I feel like. But they really got to do something about that, because that could have been a bad deal. Like if Cody Ware was actually seriously injured, that would have been... we'd be having a completely different conversation right now. I wouldn't be giving NASCAR that much grace, you know. Maybe I shouldn't be for that reason alone.
You shouldn't be giving him any grace for at all. I mean, regardless of him being hurt, like that was a shitty call.
How do you do that? Like, how do you fix that? How do we not do that shit again?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those. I don't know. I don't know what to say. It sucks. It fucking sucks. So.
Yeah.
Well, being at the track, it was very confusing because the track announcers weren't being very clear about what happened. So we're in turn 7, and I guess that wreck happened in turn 6, but it was, you know, way out of my sight.
Right.
So I just kind of hear the announcers are kind of talking about, oh, Cody Ware's stopped on the track. I don't know. SVG's coming to take the white. And then he took the white, and then the caution came out, and I was like, wait, what? That's it? The race is over under caution? I was like, what the fuck? So not having any information from the spotters other than Cody Ware wrecked, I'm livid at Cody Ware. I was like, this dumb motherfucker.
I was just going to say, were you pissed?
Ruining the race. I was like, I'm never eating Arby's again. I was like, waiting for him to drive by because I was like, I'm going to flip this motherfucker off. I'm so mad. But not knowing that he's incapable of driving or anything that
There's
happened.
no longer a front end of the car available to drive.
So I was glad he didn't drive by so that I didn't flip him off. But all weeks leading up to this race, Arby's was like, oh, we got a huge surprise for the Chicago street race, a huge surprise, can't wait to show y'all. I never saw a huge surprise, and I was like, is this a surprise that Cody Ware ruins the end of the race?
It's the murder of Cody Ware.
Yep.
So,
But again, he's fine.
yeah, but then I saw that clip afterwards. I was like, oh, god damn.
Yeah, we gotta feel bad for Cody Ware of all fucking people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after seeing his dad being fucking weird. And I was
we haven't even mentioned his brother yet. We'll get to that in a minute.
Maybe that knocked whatever Cody has in him that he got from his dad. Maybe that wreck was hard enough to knock the lizard functional out of however you would describe what you witnessed. Goddamn, I wish you had a video of that. I want to see this man
Yeah, really.
short-circuiting in front of a fucking Capitol grill.
But yeah, SVG got the win he deserved, and not much else to say there. I mean, I think we all kind of expected this, and had he not gotten wrecked last year, he probably would have won all three of them. So
Yep, it sounds like he got into the Malord as well.
yeah, he sent a tweet at 4:13 in the morning the next day. I won't be available in the morning. Please try me in the afternoon. Thanks. And the next day he was on interview, I think, with Danielle Trotta, and he's like, "Yep, don't remember sending that." So much respect. Definitely winning all weekend and then partying his ass off. That's how you do it. So good for SVG. Second win of the year. He's fifth now in the playoff points, which probably won't mean a whole lot once we get to the actual playoffs, unless he gets lucky and wins the Roval or something. But
Yeah, could happen.
cool to see. I'm a big fan of his, so that was good.
Yeah. I saw some fun stats that he has 3 Cup wins and 33 starts, which is the fastest since Jimmy Johnson in 2002. And he is now the winningest foreign-born driver in Cup history. So
Yeah,
makes sense.
and he's only going to add to that number, so it's cool.
Well, that shit's why he has a job in the United States right there. That's what he was paid to do, or it's what he is paid to do, and that's what he's going to keep doing. So
Yep.
y'all better get used to it.
and the people love him. I think I saw the most shirts on Sunday was probably SVG and just Red Bull stuff in general.
Yeah, you can't overstate the importance of the Red Bull brand being involved as well.
Yeah, 100%.
The only negative thing I can say about him at this point is he did one of the Jeff Gluck 12-question interviews for The Athletic, and he said he's a fan of AI, and he made his AI logo for his. He made the logo for his Legends car with AI, and he's like, the Twitter people aren't going to like that.
Nope.
But yeah, if that's the worst thing you can say about somebody, that's pretty good. So So yeah, moving on, because we're already
I'm not ready to move on.
Jesus Christ, what else do you have to
She
say?
ain't even left Chicago
over an hour
yet.
into this.
That's too bad.
She ain't even gone to Arby's again.
I haven't even gone to Arby's again, Brian. I'll try to wrap it up. I mean, after the race, there's not much to say. The storm was rolling in, so they were really trying to kick people out, even though it never really stormed.
Well, they're starting to tear that racetrack apart pretty much
they start
immediately after, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the next morning when we went to leave, all the main outside barriers were down, and you could see random people jogging and riding their bikes through there at 6 in the morning. So
Crazy.
I guess it just kind of a general overview what I thought was like the crowd vibe there was really unlike any other race I've experienced. Definitely like lots of influencers. I felt like everyone had like a selfie stick or like a tripod for their phone, like set up making content. A very young, hip crowd. Lots of affluent looking people like off the streets. Like we talked to a couple that were maybe our age that live in the city, and they said that they just happened to be downtown that day and saw all the stuff going on and just like walked in off the street to check it out. This was on Saturday, and they weren't sure if they were going to come back Sunday, but we ended up running into them on Sunday, so they came back and had a great time. I've never been to an F1 race. I probably will never go to an F1 race.
But you kind of have.
I feel like I have now. Like, I feel like this is the vibes at this race were the closest I'll ever experience to one. It was 100% geared towards new fans, young fans, fans with money, because there were booths set up everywhere for upgrades, which I've never seen in a race. So they were actively trying to get people who were already there to pay for a more expensive package.
Yeah, it's like some festival shit right there.
Yeah. The front stretch of the racetrack, there was no like general admission view at all. You had to have a premium package to get to see any of the front stretch. So either the Jose Cuervo package or the Liquid Death package, which that sucked because my biggest issue with the race was when they were done, I felt unsatisfied because I didn't see like a win or a burnout or like, I couldn't see any of that. So it just kind of left me feeling like something was missing afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing with this race is I totally get where you're coming from as far as like wanting to experience the vibe, but the race fan in me doesn't really want to go to a race where you can't see much of anything. And I've been to a handful of road courses, but at least with most legit road courses, there's usually a TV monitor somewhere, for those sitting there that can't see the rest of the track. And it doesn't sound like that was that way at Chicago. And it's like, it's that and combined with the cost of tickets. And it's just like, I just can't, I can't justify it when I can go to 6 other races for the same amount of money and, not deal with all that bullshit. Mm-hmm. But
that's kind of.
It would be interesting to experience. I'll say that.
Yeah. We were kind of hoping that we would be able to sneak into some grandstands, but they had guards set up at every single grandstand entrance to check every single person's ticket, so that wasn't an option.
Yeah.
Didn't see any rednecks. Very, very few rednecks. And
yeah, they're fun. Ashley.
The ones that were there stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, I was going to say, come on. Do you know, for how many years have we been talking about the Brett Griffins of the world being afraid of big cities?
Well,
of course they're not going to fucking show up.
They were scared.
Well, it is fucking expensive, too.
That too, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and like, even like walking the streets, like if I saw a fan or a person in a NASCAR shirt, I would like try to make eye contact with them, like, hey, my people, and they were just super avoidant, didn't want to talk or interact or nothing. So I did feel though that like other normal people on the streets were staring at us like we were freaks because we were walking billboards. But definitely festival vibes. I mean, there were activities everywhere. The infill of that place is so massive, it's like sometimes you don't even feel like you're at a racetrack.
Yeah.
There's an entire mini golf course set up. There are tons of cornhole.
Yeah.
Endless, fan interactive displays. Like, as far as food goes, on social media, the NASCAR Chicago page was like heavily promoting all this like super fancy, hip-looking, like good-looking food, and I don't know where the fuck that was, but it wasn't at the race that I went to. Because all that I could find were $20 shitty ass cheeseburgers and chicken tenders and $15 beers. So
no thanks.
and the only water for sale was $7 Liquid Death cans. So, but it was neat too, like looking out beyond the racetrack. People were lined up on rooftops and any open window. People were like packed in windows at like a library, and there's a college across the street, and like the hotel windows were full of people. There was a shirtless man in a hotel window for a while.
There's your redneck right
watching. So there he was.
So let me ask you this: Would you go back?
I don't know if I would go back, but I'm very glad that I went and got to experience that, because, I mean, there would be moments where I was walking through, the park and hear the race cars and see the city skyline, and like it was just so surreal.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was my experience. Another weird thing was no one cheered at the race. Like, there's no clapping, no cheering. It's
well, they
just
don't know no better. They've never seen it
yeah,
before.
it's just me and my brother looking at each other like, woo, I guess we'll clap and cheer, but no one else is. But yeah, I'm glad I went. I think that NASCAR should always have a street race on the schedule after going, just because of the aspect of, the new fan experience and bringing in new people. So
yeah, I'll say this from the home experience. I always enjoy this one. It's probably it's up there with Watkins Glen for me as being the favorite road course show of the year. And I think it just, all the boomer fans like myself just kind of have to accept that the live event is not for us. It's not what it's meant for.
Yeah.
It's meant for people that have never seen this before. And it's not meant for me to go to. And I'm kind of like you were before you went, Truelove. I'd like to see it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to experience it. But if it ever came up, 100%, because it's a race in the middle of a city. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And again, I'd say Chicago in particular has earned its place on the schedule from a fan perspective at home. I hope they don't add multiple of these necessarily. They're going to start dropping other road courses to do this. But you know, how else are you going to take this sport to places where it normally wouldn't be able to go? It's races like the Coliseum where you can't race the whole field and they're never going to have a real event like Chicago is, or it's street courses. There's literally two options for you to use in this case. And if it keeps looking like that on TV, I'll take it.
Yeah. Yep. So let's see. Moving on to news and notes.
Let's talk about Carson Ware. We already talked about Cody. We already talked about Rick. Let's see what Carson's getting into here.
Yeah, we'll get this out of the way. Carson Ware announced that he is removing his face and neck tattoos to further his racing career and look more professional. Well, good timing, bud. Your dad just sold his whole fucking team, so I don't know what you're gonna do with that. But
he posted this on Twitter earlier today, I think.
Yeah.
He said, after some time thinking, I've decided to remove my neck and face tattoos. My first appointment is next Tuesday. For those that never judged me because of them, you have no idea what that meant. For those that did, I can't say I blame you. I don't understand.
Yeah, so great timing, because, he's certainly not going to earn himself another ride anywhere else, so good luck, bud.
Yeah.
Speaking of tattoos, we'll say this too.
Speaking of tattoos that should be removed.
The 4th of July, Danica Patrick decided to post a picture of her tramp stamp, the infamous tramp stamp.
Finally got a good look at this.
Yeah, I guess it had been talked about. She'd mentioned it, but never really saw it. And it's this horrible fucking flag that's like half American flag, half checkered flag, and then like these shitty angel wings around it. And the whole thing just looks awful. And then you've got, not to be too judgy, but she has like no ass at all, just like complete nothing back there.
Two chicken cutlets hanging out back there.
Yeah, it's just a grotesque look, and that's what the MAGA folks like. So
you can get them things touched up. You can get a tattoo. When you got Danica Patrick money, you can walk into the Black Rose or whatever's on the corner next to the guest.
She's got plenty of money to get it removed.
Well, maybe Carson should tweet at her.
Yeah.
He knows a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, the most serious news that came out today was that there was another hearing that Front Row and 2311 tried to have to get their case heard for the injunction to allow them to run the charters the rest of the season, and that was denied. So it remains to see what happens, but they could lose their charters by next weekend. So this is a big deal. It doesn't, from what Jeffrey Kessler said, doesn't sound like they're giving up this fight, but it's going to be a massive financial blow to both teams if they have to run the rest of the season without charters.
Yeah,
and that also could mean that they lose drivers and lose charters, and who the hell knows? It's a big deal, but I guess it remains to be seen what's going to happen in the next week.
Yeah.
I know
from the driver's side of things, the more I think about it, like, I really don't think we're going to see anybody jump ship immediately or next year.
There's nowhere to go.
Exactly.
There's nowhere to go.
Where the fuck else are you going to go that's better than 2311? Like, there isn't. But after this, that certainly stirs up the silly season broth a little bit. And but yeah, like you said, the financial aspect is the most crushing blow here, and that's a huge deal to 2311 and an even bigger deal to Front Row. That could be devastating to Front Row in particular.
Yeah, and then, where do the charters go? Because they're all in limbo, too. So that's a big deal, and I'm sure we'll have an update on next week's show. Also announced the Clash is back at Bowman Gray Stadium next year. I don't think anybody's incredibly surprised by this, but it's news for those who are excited about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I was hoping that would be the case. Truelove, are you going to go again?
Maybe I'll talk to Andy about it. I got a ton of emails and phone calls today wanting me to renew my tickets already.
That's what I've heard, is they've been hitting the pavement.
$140 each, plus $60 parking. So
Jesus
we'll see.
Christ.
Yeah. And then let's see. Uncle Kenny Wallace, interviewed, and his name escapes me now, but the creator of Weber Valley Speedway, one of the funniest motorsports pieces of media you'll find in current days, and to me, the best use of AI on the internet. I can't say it was like, I didn't really learn anything I didn't already know at an interview, other than the fact that the guy, if you were in the iRacing dirt circles years ago, this guy was one of the best iRacing dirt drivers.
Oh, no kidding.
In the country, yeah. It was posted in the shitposting group that, like, it was like an unknown secret, like one of those like unspoken secrets. Like, everybody knew who that guy was when the page started up, if you raced in that circle.
Yeah, just watching it blossom from just the Gage Martinez Facebook account into Weber Valley into what it is now. It's just been every week there's something new, I feel like, and I laugh at all of it. I even own a Gage Martinez t-shirt.
Well, I finally got Dirt Track in 3, and they haven't added Weber Valley Speedway yet, but I guess they plan to. So
I cannot wait.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, the one thing I really enjoyed, I didn't listen to the whole thing, but there was one bit where he was talking about the way he types, and he referred to the way that the Facebook page is, all the information is typed is exactly the way that, like, his mom will text the family. It's just like that.
And they did get into the fake AI bullshit that gets posted, about Bubba and everybody else, and Kenny was talking about how a bunch of his buddies were calling him about the Bubba Wallace white flag thing, and like, you motherfuckers all got duped. Like, everybody's so stupid. So yeah, that was
incredible.
Good. But yeah, that's pretty much news and notes and DARF of the week. I don't know how to tackle this one, Rob.
I don't either. Well, at first,
'cause I don't want to read this whole thing. Maybe we should just explain who this person is.
So this is a return recipient of the DARF of the Week award. We've spoken about Alex Wood on the show before. I guess you could call him an aspiring journalist. That might be a little. I'm being kind tonight.
Yeah, that's being very kind. That's being incredibly kind.
I've been kind to a lot of people I don't like, and particularly to this previous DARF of the Week recipient. I don't even really know what the backstory on this is.
So, I mean,
but it sounds like he went to a Ziegler location, to a Carson Hocevar meetup, and was kind of acting up a little bit. And from what I know about this guy, he's kind of a blowhard, kind of a Brian, you know about
acts,
him.
he acts like he's Carson's best friend, and like if you look at, he's got tons of photos with Carson, and Carson's kind of looking like half bummed out in most of them. If I ever get to meet Carson, that's the one thing I want to ask him about. What's the deal with Alex Wood?
Yeah.
Tell me about him, please.
I will read this, which, by the way, it comes from...
Don't read. It's so fucking long, man. Don't read it.
I read
It's
fast.
So
Don't
long.
worry about it. What do you got to do?
It's so long. So long. It's such babbling bullshit.
This does...
Go take a bathroom break.
This does come to us from professional dart hunter Kyle Armstrong. He's definitely got the high count here. He sent this to me. He's like, this is probably the dart for the week, and I can't wait to hear you read this on the show, which is why I'm going to do it. Just a photo of this lady who was telling him to get away, probably rightfully so. He says, we found the mysterious woman. Her name is, I won't even read it on here just because I don't want anyone bothering her, and she is the head of security at Ziegler Auto Group. She was the lady who accused me of, in quotes, harassing Carson Hocevar, as well as other friends of mine at Carson's last Ziegler appearance in December. She kicked both me and another friend of mine out when we were just standing in the area, talking with other fans and having a good time. Carson himself even got to show Tom Kamak the custom late model my friend had made, and redacted claimed that I was harassing the two of them, which I gotta bet she was. I told her I was a friend of theirs and a journalist, and she says, this is why I'm reading it. She told me, no, you're not. I deal with tons of people like you, so I'm asking you to leave. And then he goes on to, list off all the people he knows and blah, blah, blah. And she says... I'm friends with every cop in Kalamazoo and can have you arrested for whatever I want, and I will have that happen if you do not leave right now and get you trespassed from every Ziegler dealer, and you'll never see your so-called friends again. And I don't think you want that to happen. Did that happen? Probably not. I don't think that's exactly how it went down.
For a little more context, though, so this kid, he briefly got hired by one of the fucking pages, I think Seriously Fast Motorsports, one of those like NASCAR journalist sites, and he was posting some transphobic shit on Twitter, as you do as a dumb fucking redneck
as a fake journalist,
race fan, fake journalist, and he got called out for that, and he lost his job, and he's on a crusade against the people who have wronged him.
Yeah, he's got a real thing against Rich Bickle too, which I believe was the reason he was the dart for the week previously.
Yeah. So Matt Weaver, who is an actual established excellent journalist in motorsports.
If you don't follow him, by the way, make sure you do, because he is the fucking man.
Yeah.
Was calling him out and trying to be nice about it, like trying to tell him to quit being a fucking spaz and weirdo about all this shit. And he didn't believe him. Matt had to film a video telling him, to stop.
I'm the real Matt Weaver. He kept saying, that's not the real Matt Weaver. I know Matt. And
because Matt has like a his journalism account and then his own like personal account, and Matt was responding with his personal account. And Alex didn't think that was actually him, so Matt had to go and film a video telling him. He's like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Check out my new piece I just wrote." It's just like, "Fuck you,
exactly.
dude! Like, you fucking weirdo."
So yeah, my sentence for Alex this week is, I'm going to hit this lady up because he posted her phone number on the internet. So I'm going to give her a call and have her give every cop in Kalamazoo a call and make sure he never enters a Ziegler location ever again. We'll just see who's right about this or not.
My punishment is a restraining order on behalf of Carson Hocevar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, you got to call the cops to get that. So, so we got the number. We're ready to go. Don't be like this guy. And even Matt Weaver, I forget what he said exactly on Twitter in response initially to him going off. Matt was essentially like, if you put as much effort into your writing as you do on promoting yourself and being whoever this is, you'd be the Chris Economaki of this generation.
No, he did not say that.
Yes,
he did not say that's listen, we should also mention too, this dude has a wife and kids, which I only learned that today.
So did
that
Don
blew
Draper.
my fucking mind. Listen, yeah, but Don Draper is not as fucking autistic weirdo on Twitter that thinks he's a NASCAR journalist. Okay, that's different.
Well,
at least
Twitter
Don
didn't
Draper had
exist
success.
in the Mad Men era.
That's true. Well, he just would have been sexually harassing women, probably.
That's
so
true.
There's that. Yeah, so I guess it's time to dive into the septic tank.
I guess we've been in it for a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
So Truelove went to the racetrack, obviously not a short track, but Brian also got some racetrack business in, and you went to Wayne County, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd never been there before, and my ex decided to invite me to go with her family, and since we're still friends and all that, I was like, yeah, why the fuck not? Yeah, this is just like a little, I think 3/8 mile bull ring, kind of in the middle of nowhere, about an hour south of where I live, just about, and yeah, it was just local racing. They had 410 class and late models and modifieds and street stocks, and it was fun. I mean, it was a little expensive. I think it was like $25 to get in, which is a little much for a local race.
Yeah, you'll have that these days.
I guess. I think Lebanon Valley's still 15, but, whatever. But yeah, food was decent. Got some chicken fingers and hand-cut fries, and beers were cheap. And the race was decent. The 410 race was good. There was a bunch of lead changes and stuff going on. It was cool. I just never been there before and had nothing else going on, so, it was my first dirt race of the year, and
hell yeah.
I got a couple more coming up this month, which we'll get to eventually, but it was fun.
Nice.
I have no idea who won, never heard of anybody there, but racing's racing, so it was good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I never even thought of going to Wayne County, but it looks like a cool place, and I'm glad you got to do that.
Yeah, it was surprisingly high banks. 3 and 4 were pretty steep.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that.
I had plans to go to Stafford, but of course that got rained out, such is life. But I did watch a shit ton of short track racing, and I know you did as well, Brian, especially the BC39 on Tuesday and Wednesday last week. What a show that was, quickly becoming, I mean, it's definitely a premier midget event here in the United States. But big car counts, the trophy means a lot. Obviously, it's in memory of Brian Clausen. And just a hell of a show. Justin Grant picked up the prelim win night on Thursday night on a very rough racetrack. They got a bunch of rain leading into the event, and so there were ruts and whoops and the whole thing. It was like a supercross track out there, kind of. But it put on a hell of a show on Tuesday night. Again, Justin Grant picking up the win there. Looking like his move over to Chab Boat Industries was a good choice because he's won a lot this year. The big show, of course, was on Wednesday. A couple of notes from that. Santino Ferrucci showed up. Of course, he runs a midget from time to time, despite being a Connecticut Yankee in the IndyCar world. He'll run the Chili Bowl and all that. And he showed up to promote the event, hang out, and check it out. And gave us one of the worst shotguns I've ever seen. Not quite as bad as Cornbread Cowboy did at Bristol. But, a good old-fashioned two-hander, just like... I figured hanging out the Chili Bowl, maybe he'd figured that out, but I suppose not. The feature itself was pretty badass. Justin Grant was putting on a show. For most of the race, him and I believe it was Jacob Denley were trading sliders for several laps, and then finally Jacob chopped him. I don't know if that was him just trying to get off the wall or if he did it on purpose trying to break his line, but... cut a tire down. Well, actually, I don't know if that cut a tire down on Justin Grant, but the impact knocked Justin down the middle of the track, and then Cannon McIntosh just arced his way on through there, took out his right front. That was pretty much the end of the night for him. Justin did try and persist with a flat left front, which is totally legal, but I think there was a lot more going on with that car than a tire, and he ended up dropping back. I think he ended up with a 12th place finish out of the night, but don't quote me on that. But still, doesn't match up with what he was doing on the racetrack. Whoever was driving the KKM 67K, that kid definitely pays a giant crash deposit before every race because this kid spun out like 6 times. Which, to have that good of a car and be doing that, maybe it's time to go back down to quarter midgets or, I don't know, get into tattoo removal because we know a few people who... could use the help. But anyway, I don't know what that kid's name is. I'm not going to look it up. Yeah, 67K. I've got my eye on you, motherfucker. Cannon McIntosh went on to win back-to-back BC39s. He won last year, of course. Now this one, that's what back-to-back means. Cannon had a big-ass drive coming from 19th. He flipped in the heat race. I am by no means a Cannon McIntosh fan, but credit where credit is due. That was a pretty badass run from the back. And he got to kiss the wall, or the bricks. They have some... a little bit of a yard of bricks up on the backstretch fence, and I don't know why it took him so long to get him over there to do it, but it there was a long enough wait at the end of the race where I thought they were actually driving him over to the bricks on actual Indianapolis. But no, they were just hosing the wall down on the back
I
stretch.
didn't see him there. So.
Yeah. But yeah, fuck that guy, but nice run. Got to kiss the wall. And thank God after committing several acts of violence on the racetrack as he does. But that's Cannon McIntosh. He's fast as hell. And yeah, you're going to see a lot more of him coming up in the next few years. There's no question about that. Logan Seavey was really, really mad at Gavin Miller. I don't remember exactly what happened, but while Gavin was giving his interview, Logan was kind of chirping at him, and Gavin just seemed kind of scared of him a little bit. His voice was shaky and kind of like...
I love that. I thought it was so funny.
It was hilarious.
It was just like this little wimpy kid trying to like clap back at a bully or something. I loved it. I'm a Gavin Miller fan. I thought it was great. I thought it was so funny.
My question is, who the fuck is scared of Logan Seavey? That kid's like 48 inches tall, if I remember correctly. Like, I don't know. But it was a great show. The BC39, a great event. That one's on my list of places to go. Obviously, seeing the big track is a little higher up for me, but shout out to Doug Bowles, who is the best fucking track president out there. That guy cares so much about that facility and everything that goes down on the facility. That dirt track is cool. Again, it was a bit of a rough surface on both nights. They had it a little cleaned up on Wednesday, but still pretty cowboy up kind of racetrack. But yeah, he was out there. He went out and shook all the drivers' hands before the feature. He was there the whole weekend. Was very integral. Obviously, he runs the place. Very integral in getting this set up and getting a race going in memory of Brian Clausen. So I can't say anything. I can't say enough about Doug Bowles. Guy fucking rules. On the same night, PA Speed Weeks rolled on. They were at Port Royal, and the only reason I bring this up is because this is some of the most garbage race to an end I think I've ever seen. Like, you thought Chicago was a wet fart. Well, let me tell you about Port Royal during Speed Weeks here. So, not to get too into the history of this, but a lot of the Pennsylvania guys and a lot of teams run smaller fuel tanks, shorter races, no need to have a big 33-gallon tank. A lot of the big touring guys tend to run bigger tanks. There's drawbacks to both, and there's benefits to both, but, you know, there were some national guys there, particularly Kyle Larson being the big one. That honestly, Anthony Macri was the class of the field, but Larson definitely had something for him until he spun out on his own. Happens to the best of us. It was a pretty fucking stupid mistake, too. Just a lazy spin on his own. And got set back pretty far, but worked his way up through the field. And as he was... I'm getting ahead of myself here. Because of the size of the fuel tanks, there was a lot of concern about guys running out of fuel, apparently, which mainly because Danny Dietrich actually did run dry with I think it was a few laps before what I'm about to describe went down. Anyway, Larson was about to catch Macri, and as he got alongside him, the yellow came out. And apparently, and they didn't show this on the broadcast, but apparently there was something else that brought the yellow out. But they threw it. It was Cody Ware. He hit the tires so hard that it reverberated a few days back to Port Royal. But anyway, they throw an open red for a fuel stop with 4 laps to go, so everyone can come out and fill their tanks up, and which to me is kind of bullshit. We've made it this far, you know, like. But the thing that got most of the internet super pissed off was that the announcer on Flow Racing and at the track had said it was a fuel-only stop. Now, I'm not familiar with Pennsylvania rules. They don't have a fuel-only open red rule at Port Royal. It's open red means you can come out, work, you can grind your tires down, you can do pretty much anything you want, with the exception of changing tires. I think that's the one thing you can't do. But I didn't know that, and most of America didn't know that. And they call this open red for fuel on the broadcast, and the first thing Anthony Macri does is come down there and start grinding on a tire. And like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme, like point at the screen, like, wait a second, y'all see that shit? And of course he drives away from Larson, who had more than enough fuel to win the race. And of course all the PA folks are excited about that. It's just what they're used to, and everyone who's not a posse person was calling bullshit, myself included. As always, the true answer is somewhere in between, but that's definitely the biggest wet fart ending of the week. In a week where we had another big one at the top level of stock car racing. So that made me shut my TV off. I was done after that. But still, good show. Anthony Macri ended up winning the Speed Week title, so good for him. Over in the late model world, they had a nice big show at Atomic on the 4th of July. I set up my TV out back. My wife is out of town. Actually, I was the only one in town. Anyone who would come over and hang out with me was out of town or doing some other shit. So it was just me back there at the fire pit and the TV and some beer in a cooler. It was really awesome. Brandon Shepard picking up his first win of the year in Lucas Oil competition on account of pretty much half the field having mechanical issues. Again, another rough racetrack. Guys breaking shit left and right, and Brandon Shepard survived a battle of attrition. Really enjoyed it. I stood up to go back in my house, and I turned around. The fire died down enough to where I was cool leaving it out there, put the cover on it, go back in the house. It's like 10 o'clock. And I turn around, and there's a skunk just chilling on my front step. Just sitting there. And I'm like, oh, fuck, well, I'll go through the garage, whatever. I reach in my pocket, and then I remember that my house keys are sitting on the kitchen counter.
Oh, no.
So I gotta wait this little fucker out, and he hangs out for a good 20 minutes. Just me on skunk patrol, and there's fireworks going off. I'll send you all the video of this little bastard.
Oh man, 4:30 in the morning on Friday, I get up and go to the flea market, and I let my dog out, and there's a little hole in my fence, and sometimes he gets out, and he gets out, and I go out front to get him. On the fucking front yard is a skunk.
Perfect.
And thankfully I was able to grab the dog and just immediately pull him in the house before anything bad happened. So
yeah, it's the witching
I had
hour.
my own little skunk run in.
Skunk trouble for the whole gang this week. And you
I don't have the chance.
you running any skunks in Chicago, Truelove?
Just smelly pee-pee streets.
That's just as bad sometimes.
There's a couple pile of poops on the sidewalk. But,
Perfect.
And
an 11-year-old ghost in your hotel. I guess I'd take a skunk over that any day of the week.
Yeah.
Lucas Oil rolled on to Muskegon County, and Hudson O'Neill picked up a win there in the Freedom 60. That was a good show, too.
Wait, did Shepard win? Who won Saturday at Atomic?
It was a one-day show.
Oh, okay. So I did watch Atomic then.
Yeah, it was Friday,
show.
Saturday. Brandon Shepard won on Friday night at Atomic, and then Hudson O'Neill picked up a win.
Okay, yeah.
On Saturday. That was fun too. World of Outlaw late models were at Deer Creek. Bobby Pierce won on Thursday. Nick Hoffman threw a really short slider on like lap 3 and just knocked Tyler Bruning around and junked half the field. Again, another parallel with what happened in Chicago with Carson Hocevar a little bit. Nick Hoffman's a very clean driver, and he's taken a lot of shit for this, which I don't think is warranted. Full disclosure, I'm a big Nick Hoffman fan, but lay off the motherfucker. He's a good driver. But anyway, he won the race. Who gives a shit? And he's now within 50 points of Bobby Pierce's lead in the point standings for the World of Outlaw late models. The Hell Tour continued on. We only got one more week of this, so I can stop talking about late model racing y'all don't watch soon enough. Tyler Erb picked up wins at both Spoon River and Duck River. I don't know if there's a special trophy for that, but there should be. More on Duck River in just a second here. Tyler Millwood won at LaSalle. Jason Fager picked up a win at Red Hill. Shannon Babb at Tri-State got it done. And now back to Duck River here. So they were particularly cussy on the mic at this one. I forget exactly what was said, but both Tyler Erb and this other dude had gotten on the mic and... it's the late model race on the Hell Tour of all things. It is a tour called Hell Tour. So
Already got a bad word in it.
Yeah. But these were, pretty classic Tyler Erb interviews here. And it was enough for the track announcer to get on the mic and say, earlier tonight, there were some things said on the microphone that we don't agree with. This is a family event. And that's not something we stand for. And about an hour later... We got the most ridiculous interview I've ever heard from this kid. I'm just gonna play it because reading what he
because I haven't had a chance to listen. So.
Reading what he said is just not gonna do it justice. Here, let me pull it up here real quick.
Kind of walk me through how you had to work
Hold on a second here.
around.
This is Lucas Lee.
There over those final few.
Here it comes.
Oh, it'd been real easy if that shit wouldn't happen on the start. That bozo clown. He can go beg some fucking money because he ain't nothing but a pussy. 45, he's a fucking idiot. Like it all, I don't give a shit. It pisses me off. He drives everybody like an idiot. Tired of it. I'm glad I ain't out here racing for points because I tear his shit up.
Lucas Lee,
That's a winner's interview. That's a victory lane winner's interview.
After the apology for foul language.
This man said every word in the book.
Incredible ship. But yeah, he was not happy with anybody he beat. So. But yeah, I got a real kick out of that. It wasn't like 12:15 in the morning, so I mean, if your kids are out there on a Sunday night, then that's kind of
your own fault.
Kind of asking for that one. Meanwhile, at Shady Hill, Zach Mitchell picked up a win there. Jason Fager's still on top of the overall points. I gotta be perfectly honest with you, I don't even know if that counts for anything or if it's just a weekly deal. Couldn't tell you. But Hell Tour's got 1 week left. Montpelier, Butler, Crystal Motor Speedway, Oakshade, and Wayne County. And that's it for the late models. There is a modified portion that wraps up at the Prairie Dirt Classic at the end of July. But yeah, that's your Hell Tour notes right there. Not the only late model racing we saw. Hunt the Front was at Sonoya, and I know you guys have probably seen the video of that 604 late model.
Made it on the local news around here.
Yeah, just kind of getting up on the cushion and up on the fence. And folks, I've said it on the show before, there's a reason why you don't stand on the fence at a racetrack. And if you needed any reason, any visual proof of why this is a bad idea, and we'll post this video just like everybody else's because you need to see it. This is why. This guy, I forget the driver's name, but he got up on the cushion, kind of hopped over the wall, into the fence, hit a telephone pole, and the car didn't hit the 3 guys standing on the pit wall, but it was the dirt and debris and all the other shit that knocked them off, and they had to get hauled out of there in ambulances, and I want to say a life flight helicopter came out. All those guys are okay. They're going to make full recoveries, or as full as you can after that. But don't do it. They put the signs up for a reason. Like, use common sense. And these guys were in the pits too, and if you do shit like this, they're going to start regulating who gets to go in there. And I love buying a pit pass and wandering around, so don't fuck this up for me specifically. And just keep your head on a swivel. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Anyway, Jimmy Owens won that race. That was pretty cool. And then we got to see a good old-fashioned Bowman Gray flameout between Michael Page and Corey Hedgecock. They got into it at the end of the race. And Corey Hedgecock was not thrilled about it. They played a little bumper tag and kind of got hooked together. And then Corey Hedgecock got out of his car and just dove off the top of it into Michael Page, causing a giant brawl out there in the middle of the racetrack. And the best part about this was Sam Seawright just slowly rolling up behind the whole thing and just parking in the middle of the racetrack to watch the fight. I got a big kick out of that. Definitely some fines and suspensions and shit coming down from that one, but I gotta be honest with you, I didn't read that article, so I couldn't tell you what it was. But both those guys getting in a little bit of trouble, but very funny shit. Maybe we'll post that video too, because just the way Sam rolls up in there, shuts it off, and
the Josh Berry move.
That's exactly what
propping up on the fence.
Oh, man. Smart Tours at Caraway. Going over to the asphalt side of things. Danny Bone won that one. Slinger Nationals wrapped up last night. Ty Majeski picked up a win there. I think that's his 4th Slinger Nationals win. Kind of a weird show because of the weather. There was even a point in the race where there was lightning in the area, and they pulled the camera guys out of the cherry pickers around the track, but they let the fans stay in there. They just raced and used all the station. It's a good thing Flo was actually at the racetrack presenting this, because they had a bunch of stationary cameras set up and they just switched between those. Not the greatest experience. And then there eventually was rain, and I basically went through my entire night and then just flipped over to Flo to close the app out and noticed that Slinger was still live and there were still 100 laps left. So I ended up finishing that one up. But yeah, Ty Majeski getting a big win there. Dude is so good in the super late model. Speaking of people getting in trouble for doing dumb things in late models, Port Royal did ban Tyler Faring for both 2025 and 2026 for using another competitor's car as a boat ramp or a launch ramp. We talked about that last week, and Port Royal, I would imagine that Bowman Gray going viral and them probably in tandem going viral with that shit, that made the folks at Port Royal say enough is enough, and that's a huge penalty for that.
It's a long-ass ban.
Yeah, it really is. This is kind of a cool deal. It took me a little while to figure out what was going on, and maybe we'll post this on the Instagram as well, but there was a race at Granby up in Canada where they had a bunch of literal blind people driving around in just random cars like Enduros to have an opportunity to see what it felt like to drive a race car, which is pretty cool. I thought that was neat. It is fucking entertaining to watch, that's for sure. I was given...
How'd that pan out?
Not great.
Yeah, I want to see this.
I'm watching it right now, and I just watched a guy go over the fence. But definitely.
Oh wait, I think I did see a clip that because I saw a bunch of cars like wrecking immediately, and I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is this? Okay, yes.
That's 'cause they're all-
Oh yeah, they're in minivans.
Yes, that's it. Okay. I was wondering why. I was like, why is this clip out here? I'm like, okay. that makes
This was the
sense.
video I sent to Buddy, friend of the program, Buddy Pulley, and asked him about there being a Cars Tour Canadian division, because this is what it reminded
That's
me of.
okay. Yes, that's why I saw it. Okay, got it.
Yeah, but it's good stuff. Very wholesome. I bet you that was a lot of fun. I can't imagine what that would be like. I can't imagine being blind in the first place, but then getting to drive around a short track. That's fucking insane. God bless Canada. A couple more notes before we move on to the video of the week here. The Eldora, Kings Royal, and Joker's Jackpot, all that entry list are starting to come out. It's exactly who you'd expect to be there, but I think the big story, especially for NASCAR fans, is that Christopher Bell announced that he's going to be running the Joker's Jackpot and the prelim night leading into that. One of those, of course, the Joker's Jackpot's going to be on FS1, so you get to see him drive the Kreitz 69K yet again, and go up against Kyle Larson at Eldora. That's going to be pretty cool, and everybody else there. That's going to be a who's who of 410 racing. Of course, the Kings Royal right after that. As you all know, Christopher Bell will not be racing that, but it's a damn shame. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Happy birthday, Jack Hewitt. Arguably the greatest sprint car driver of all time. Definitely one of the biggest characters the sport of auto racing has ever seen. He's 73 years old. 73 years young, I would say. That guy's still got a lot of fire in his gut. If you don't know who Jack Hewitt is, there's a lot of awesome flow content out there about him. He's got a book called Hewitt's Law, which I really I recommend that. And dude is just a legend. First guy to ever win the 4 Crown. He's won the Silver Crown Championship a couple times. All-Star Circuit of Champions. Let's see, what are the big ones? He's won Knoxville before, Belleville Midget Nationals. He's just the man. Jack Hewitt's the man. And of course, probably the thing that, against his own wishes, the thing he's most famous for is an interview after a USAC race where he encouraged someone to kiss his dick on television, which I very much enjoyed. But that's pretty much it for the septic tank. There's a lot of racing coming up this weekend. Lucas Oil's at 34 Raceway and Wheatland for the Diamond Nationals. World of Outlaw 8 models are at Sharon. Brian, I believe you're going to that, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure which day. Weather and scheduling will determine that. But yeah, I'm going to go to at least one. I'm going to go to one of them. Fremont's running Monday, high limit. I won't be at that. The Brad Doty Classic is Tuesday at Attica, which I'm hoping to be. We're going to figure out a recording schedule for next week to see if I can get
We
to
always
that.
work around racing events. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
World of Outlaw Sprint Cars are also at Deer Creek and Wilmot coming up. And as you said, High Limit's going to be at Fremont. They're also going to be racing at Florence the night before. The Cars Tour is at Hickory. See, buddy, I talk about it. And then the NASCAR Wheel of Modified Tour is going to be at Lancaster out in Pennsylvania. Again, and that's just a small sampling of what's on Dirt Vision and Flow. Racing America's got a bunch of shit going on. All your local streaming services have a bunch of stuff going on. Plenty of racing to go out and see, and I'm sure there's a short track within an hour of you that you should go and check out. So make sure you pound the pavement on the internet, the proverbial online pavement, and find out where you can go see some short track racing and get it done. That's it for the short track septic tank. We'll go ahead and flush it down, and we're going to watch probably one of my uncles drive a Ford Ranger around Sonoma.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I was having some issues with my connection.
You're good. Cool. So we got 2 videos this week. We have an 8-lap SCCA truck race. I'm trying to pull up here the video and get the exact description of this. It was it's actually from 1991. It says 1990 on the video, but it was the SCCA Shell Zone Truck Guard Series.
That's a pretty neat deal.
This was a short-lived series within the SCCA. It involved these little mini trucks. You know, you got Ford, Chevys. No, there are actually no Chevys out there. Fords,
Toyotas.
Nissans, Toyotas, Isuzus. And this series was only around for like 4 years. I guess from my little bit of research I did, manufacturers didn't love the fact that these things kind of beat the shit out of each other. Like, there was only a little bit of contact in this race, but the trucks, there's a lot of drafting and contact and stuff, and at this point in time, a lot of the manufacturers were not huge fans of it, so the series kind of lost funding after a few years, and it kind of went away. And even in the description of this video, the dude that uploaded, he's like, I kind of felt sad uploading this because you can see it's the end of the series. There's only 7 trucks in this race, so kind of makes sense. But I mean, there's not a ton to talk about here. I just thought it was kind of interesting as a fan of these old little mini trucks, as I sit with a rotting 86 Ford Ranger in my backyard right now.
Oh man,
so
I forgot that you even had that thing.
I still have it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I got to get rid of it, but it's still sitting back there. But yeah, I mean, this was there were actually a couple names that were kind of familiar. First being Paige Jones, which at first I thought it was just PJ Jones, and he just went by Paige back then. But no, this is the second Parnelli Jones kid. His deal was in '94. He crashed at Eldora in one of the 4 Crown Nationals races. Basically, he flipped, and another car hit his roll cage and fractured his skull. And there's a documentary about his injuries and recovering from it, so that kind of shortened his career. And then also Steve Saleen of Saleen Engineering, or whatever you want to call that company, but I mean, the guy who does the Saleen Mustangs and all the Saleen Ford stuff, and
the picture they showed of this guy, he looked like a serial killer.
Picture was amazing. Like, he's got a nice skullet going. He looks wonderful.
Yep, Jeffrey Dahmer glasses.
Yep. But, I mean, the race itself, like I said, there's only 7 trucks. You got Gary Newber and somebody else whose name they never mentioned announcing the race. The trucks themselves all look pretty stock, and I even noticed one of the drivers had his headlights on, which I thought was funny. They look pretty stock with some of them have some graphics and some extra body work done to them, but they all seem like trucks you could just take on the street right after the race, and they sounded like it too.
For sure.
There's a little bit beating and banging, but they had it split up into 2 heat races for some reason, and then there was no main event or anything. It was just the thing was over with. At one point you get Paige Jones. He pushed through to the lead, but lost that pretty quickly. You got Gary Newber kind of bringing up the importance of this series and how it's a showcase for the manufacturers. But again, as I mentioned, the manufacturers didn't like the way they raced, so they kind of pulled the funding after a while. I mean, the trucks themselves are cool, but the racing itself was all kind of spread out. Towards the end, Pettiford and Saleen were getting into each other. It was just an interesting race. Probably be the last weird truck series I run on here for a while. But yeah, I guess it's not incredibly surprising that truck racing didn't really catch on until NASCAR got a hold of it, because much like the big rig race that we watched last week, it was not the most enthralling racing I've ever seen. But
there was another series in the South too.
There was an early '80s. They almost tried to make it like the first NASCAR truck series, and I think Buck Baker was involved, and a few other people. And I've seen some of those trucks before, and they were the full-size trucks that did kind of look like early super trucks, but it didn't really catch on at all.
Yeah, it took a while for truck racing to really become something, and like you said, it wasn't until NASCAR did what they did that it actually caught fire, and now we still got it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense that, out of all the 80s truck motorsport stuff, monster trucks were the ones to really hit. And these other racing series didn't really work until the 90s, when just, NASCAR in general was huge. But I mean, it was a neat little time capsule, but I mean, I wasn't incredibly excited to watch all of it.
Hard to get excited about watching 7 trucks race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just reminded me of something I would have seen on like a Sunday afternoon on TNN or like a Saturday afternoon or something, like after a bush race or whatever.
Yeah.
In between the swamp buggies and
Yeah.
fucking IHRA or whatever.
Oh, I will say that one thing I failed to mention was, they were talking about how light the trucks are and the weight disbursement and stuff, and how even though from the outside it looks like the trucks were handling pretty well, they were sliding all over the track and all that. And at one point, Paige Jones, while trying to wrestle the truck, hits his windshield wipers, and Gary has to explain that. And then at the very end, they show, as they're signing off the broadcast, they show a deer running on the track and thankfully not getting hit. So
Yeah.
that was good. So yeah, any other final notes before we move on to the other shitty video I picked?
It's just kind of neat to see a half green Sonoma. It wasn't the full green that we've seen before, and we'd love to see again. But definitely kind of halfway there. It was kind of nice. The hills still have grass on them, and it really reminds you of how pretty Sonoma actually is in certain seasons. But yeah, definitely on its way out of that or into it, I guess. I don't actually know when this race took place. Is the date in the title? Let me look.
It was 91.
Doesn't narrow down the season.
Yeah.
The
grass gets green every 4 years.
Yeah, fucking whatever.
No, definitely a cool deal, but yeah, I can understand why this fell by the wayside. And again, maybe this is the sort of death rattle of this thing, but still cool to see. I love obscure shit like this. I think this is a good find.
Yeah. Like you said, the kind of random names that pop up in this race were probably the most interesting part.
For sure.
Yeah. And then our second video was infamous fast food car reviewer Dame Drops.
I had never heard of him before this.
No.
I mean, I as someone who watches a lot of stupid bullshit on YouTube and having a bunch of friends who watch this type of content, I knew who he was, and I've seen a few of his videos, and he was, as famous as you can get for this type of content creator. I mean, he was involved in some Netflix series and stuff like that, but he was just like the first guy to hit it big, just eating fast food in his car. And this, also, he's interviewing Bubba Wallace, and this is actually Bubba's rookie year. This was his first. They filmed it at the Coke 600 in 2018, so it was his first time doing that race. And right off the bat, the video starts with some white dude
Named Kyle.
White dude named Kyle explaining how he doesn't like it when ribs are cooked to where the meat falls off the bone, which
I
is
hated him immediately.
Fucking asshole move. Right off the bat. And Dame does a little interview with Bubba and just kind of asks the most basic, boring stock, questions of someone would ask if they don't know anything about racing. They're eating food from some fans' camper in the infield. Dame is like reviewing these ribs and I don't know, man. It's just he's eating the ribs, and all of a sudden techno music starts playing, and it's just like, what the fuck is happening here?
His whole energy and personality was just so over the top for I don't know. I didn't need that much energy for watching you eat these dry ass looking ribs. So
yeah, knowing his history as a food reviewer, I thought it was going to be a little more food based, but it's kind of just like Dame goes to a race and meets Bubba and eats a little bit of food, and it's kind of just a mishmash, and it's not really well edited or well put together. In the video description, he calls Bubba the first black NASCAR driver since 1971, which is not true. So do your research, pal. There's a lot of B-roll shots of the track and stuff going on in the garage and all that. And then there's at one point in the video, Dame is like pretending to be Bubba's crew chief, just talking into his phone, and that was really stupid. And then he asks Bubba what his requested meal would be, which is a weird way to phrase that. And Bubba gives a pretty basic answer. Grilled chicken, spaghetti, Caesar salad, some vegetables. He says he's been a picky eater his whole life, and he talks about his girlfriend, who I'm assuming is his wife now. I don't know if it's the same person, but introducing him to bread pudding, and he's like, well, I tried it at least. So You know,
He said bread pudding? Because I thought he said red pudding. I was like, I never had red pudding.
No, it was yeah, I mean, I don't know. This was not that I was expecting it to be good, but I thought it'd be a little more entertaining just knowing a little bit about Dame Drops. But it was just very amateur hour. You know, some influencer goes to a NASCAR race and films his experience and gets to hang out with a driver. And yeah, it was not good. And I feel like his career has faded a bit at this point. I know he's still doing food reviews, but now there's a million people doing food reviews, so it kind of is what it is. But what did you guys think?
Yeah, not for me. That's pretty much all I got. It's just, definitely not made for me specifically.
I saw plenty of influencers at the track this weekend. I did not need to watch this on top of that. So.
Yeah, well... All right. Well,
what do you got for us next week, Brian?
I've got I think what'll be a much more entertaining video. So I was looking for random stuff today, and I found. So I know Weaver Valley, the Bang Banger class is a famous class, but banger racing is a thing in Europe. Did you guys know about this?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll
kind of enduro,
kind of. So here's the definition from Wikipedia. Banger racing is similar to British stock car racing and demolition derbies. Is popular in the United Kingdom. It is known for being divisive among car enthusiasts regarding the motorsport's poor treatment of rare classic cars, the rare unchecked use of stolen vehicles at race events, and the dangers of crashing old cars with minimal safety features. So there's actually a handful of different documentaries on YouTube about this subject, and I picked one. Let me pull up here the title. Sunday Drivers.
Sweet.
This was filmed in 1995. The Banger Racing documentary on the Mad March tear-up meeting in Worthing, March 12th, 1995. This exciting meeting features legends of the past, including 206 Kingy, Dave King, and 185 Little Miss Mischief, Polly Reed. But of course, the most memorable part of this special film is the sport's first Rolls-Royce driven by Laham's Bad Boy team representative, 167 Little Gypsy John Chambers.
These names.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. I briefly skimmed through and was like, this seems pretty entertaining. And hopefully I get to hear cunt quite a bit in this. So I'm excited to check this out, and I feel like this will be a step in the right direction after this week's video. So I think it'll be a good one. So that's on the playlist now.
Yeah, UK oval racing is its own thing for sure. Like Brisket F1, actually, friend of the program, Steve Kent, was talking about the modified racing they have out there. That kind of, I believe, runs alongside this kind of stuff. It's definitely its own culture and not something you typically would think of when you think of motorsports in the United Kingdom. But it's there, and it's got a deep history, so I'm very excited for this.
Mm-hmm. It should be fun, so I'm excited to check it out. So cool. So yeah, we mentioned I'm probably doing a handful of racing things by the time you record next week, and I forget, you guys, Ashley, you're off. I mean, you just had 2 weeks in a row, so you're not doing any fucking racing.
I'm not doing anything until Car Store next month.
Yeah, are you doing anything, Rob, or I forget?
No, I don't think so. It's go time for the band, getting ready for Europe right now. So I got a couple shows coming up. Got one in Rhode Island in a couple weeks. I'll actually have the details for that next week, and then it's off to Europe, where I may or may not be on the show for a couple weeks.
Hey, we're figuring that out, but we got a host waiting in the wings if you're not going to be here. So cool. So as always, you can follow us at Meet Me at Applebees on Instagram, Meet Me at the Bees on Twitter, Speedway Screens and all the things, speedwaytsj.etsy.com, and MMA Applebees at checkout for 15% off.
Still Stank Mountain _Truelove.
Cool. Said with all the enthusiasm of a woman who walked 7 miles a day in the Chicago humidity.
I still have more Chicago stories to share, so
cool.
Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, it's always
post a picture of this shitty ass deep dish pizza I had or something.
Damn, you had a bad one? Or are you just not a deep dish person?
Well, I guess I've never had it before, but I mean, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't everything I hoped and dreamed.
Yeah.
Unlike the Portillo sandwich, that was everything I hoped and dreamed.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Rob Motes _unofficial. My band's called These Wild Plains. Like I said, got a bunch of shows coming up that none of y'all listening will be able to go to, with one that you might. Very excited for that. Looking forward to get over to some places I've never been before. I just found out that Iceland Air doesn't allow, or they don't give you free drinks on the plane, which is, at least in the class that we bought tickets in, so that's bullshit. So I'll be buying, yeah, exactly. Do they make Malort nips? Who knows? They might. We're going to find out, and I'll tell you all about it in a few weeks. But in the meantime, yeah, no real racing coming up for me, I don't think, other than watching it on TV. But more details on those shows next week when it's a little more pertinent. And, yeah, thanks for sharing all that about Chicago. I'm glad you got to go, Truelove.
Sorry it was so long.
So I don't have
to. A lot to talk about.
Yeah. I enjoyed all of it.
Oh. I enjoyed my trip, so.
Good.
Cool. Well,
yeah, I think we're done.
I think that's it. So,
Check's been here for a while.
yeah, Check is here. We will. Thanks for joining us at Applebee's. We'll talk to y'all next week.
The Applebees.
The Applebee's.
The Applebee's.